What's going on, everyone? Happy Thursday to everyone. Hopefully everyone is doing well, staying safe, healthy. If you had to take a COVID test, hopefully you have tested negative. If you had to take a test for anything else, hopefully you tested negative for that as well. If you did test positive for anything, hopefully you have a full and speedy recovery with no long-term issues. It is time now, once again, for the Thursday edition of the Pandemic Update. For Thursday, December 14th, 2023. First off, if you're new to my channel, welcome to my channel. This is where we do the daily pandemic update on the ongoing COVID pandemic and other viruses that may be a threat to you. So if at the end of this video you learn anything, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel down below. Starting off today, 4% of U.S. collegiate athletes developed long COVID. This is an issue. I mean, it has been ongoing, and these numbers here to study comes from the early days of the pandemic. So this number could be even higher now, but this is not good. Long COVID among athletes, it's starting to become a problem, and it's now up to 4%. All right, going up to Canada now. Kingston General Hospital bursting at the seams with COVID-19 and respiratory illnesses. Yes, they are dealing with a huge number of admissions. Listen to this. The Kingston General Hospital says a surge of emergency department inpatients, including a day that had a near record 580 admissions, has the hospital struggling to keep up as the respiratory virus season peaks across the province. Again, a near record 580 admissions. No, this is not 2020. It's not 2021. It's not 2022. This is in 2023. The combination of the viruses. We've been talking about this. COVID alone, yes, that's really bad. But then you have all these other viruses, and now RSV, the past several years, has been worse than ever. Then you have influenza, then you have pneumonia. You have all these different viruses combined together. It's breaking near records at hospitals. I mean, it is just overwhelming hospitals, and here is proof of it right here. All right, moving on to this. Health Ministry calls for mask again as Malaysia's COVID-19 cases nearly double to 13,000 in 1 week. Yep, cases are not just rising here in the United States. We're talking about a worldwide rise, and the majority of what I'm seeing is the JN.1 variant. Take a look at France. Speaking of the JN.1 variant, look what happened here on this chart when JN.1 became dominant. It went up big time. I mean, just a rapid increase in hospital admissions. No, these are not cases. These are not just regular cases. These are people who are being hospitalized for COVID-19 because they're positive and they're being placed into the hospital. It's happening. It's real, folks. Hospitalizations are rising at this time, and it doesn't stop there. Weekly hospital admissions in England, they were dropping for some time. Then they leveled. Then they rose a little bit, and then look what happened. They saw a big rise. So yes, hospital admissions are even rising in England as well. It's not a good situation what's going on around the country. And yesterday we talked about how people, or was it yesterday or the day before, how people are trying to rush beyond the pandemic, but the pandemic's not done with us. The COVID's not done with us. It's here. It's here to stay. It's still a big issue. We have a new variant right now. Take a look at this. No one can afford to get sick right now. If you have to get sick, some people are forced to go to work masked and can't get the time off. Well, look at this. In my city, Philly's paid sick leave law for COVID-19 ends later this month. That's right, a city rule that requires employers to provide up to 40 hours of additional compensated time for sickness expires on New Year's Eve. That's right, you'll have to use your vacation time, your own time, or maybe some days without pay. It's just totally ridiculous, but this is what's happening. Kansas officials are monitoring cases of avian influenza in McPherson and Rice counties. So, yes, that is still a problem as well. Let's take a look at air qualities across the country. Let's see what's going on today. And we're going to see much of the same, but keep an eye here in the central states. We are starting to see some air quality deteriorate, especially in the Midwest. It's going down just a little bit, and really bad in California. Today is about the worst we have seen yet. I don't know what the deal's going on. Are there more wildfires? Is it because of fireplaces? I honestly don't know, but this is just not good. If you're in California and you have to go up in the mountainous regions, which, it'd be colder, people would be using fireplaces, consider masking when you go outside, especially if you're immunocompromised in the lungs, COPD, asthma, all that type stuff, and much of the same of what we have been seeing in the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. No surprise. There, the national positivity rate at Walgreens is 29.3%. Taking a look now, we're going to take a look at a couple of those wastewater scan sites. Let me refresh this so it comes up with the most accurate data. We were looking at something earlier. That's not what we want to see, but let's go out here to Las Vegas, Nevada, where we have not looked at in some time. Let's see what's going on in Las Vegas, Nevada. And wow, pretty much every metric: COVID, high. RSV, high and continuing to rise. Influenza A, high. Influenza B, high. It's just crazy. HMPV is low. Norovirus is medium and dropping. Most recent update rose a little bit. Hepatitis A, there is some detection. And good news is Mpox is low, but not good seeing all those high sites. Let's do one more. Now taking a look at what is going on in Greenville, South Carolina, and looks like this is a brand new site, so actually we cannot pull up any data on that, so let's just switch gears a little bit. Let's go over here to Wilson, North Carolina. This site we can see, and in Wilson, North Carolina, COVID is high at this time, and it's continuing to rise. RSV is high, influenza A is low, influenza B is low. Norovirus, it's high at this time. It's trying to level off and drop a little bit. No hepatitis A as of recently. There was one back in October, and no Mpox at this time. So that is Wilson, North Carolina, 50,000 population served, and good to see that Greenville is a new site that has popped up here. I am so happy to see these new sites popping up on the wastewater scan site. All right, taking a look at some CDC data. Epidemic site status. So this has to do with COVID. The dark purple is growing. The purplish pink color is likely growing. Yeah, you can see a lot of sites are growing. There's no sites that are likely declining, and the rest are all just stable or uncertain. So, yes, I think we're going to see more purples and pinks that show up on this map. Taking a look here at the latest variants, HV.1 is in the lead right now. We won't get another update on this till next week. HV.1 is at 29.6%, JN.1 is 21.4%, but in actuality, we have to assume, and a lot of people are assuming, JN.1 now is probably ahead of HV.1. Hospitalizations, this will update tomorrow. 22,513 on the most recent update. Philadelphia EMS calls yesterday. It's hovering close to 800 again, 793. The call volumes are up from what we were seeing earlier in the month and last week. Now let's take a look at what's going on in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. And we can see here right now there are currently 15 calls. So it is a little bit busy. We're seeing just about a little bit of everything. So that's not good. And ooh, cardiac arrest. That's a call I do not like to see. And wow, let's refresh this to make sure this is up to date. It is. Sometimes it's not the amount of calls. Sometimes it's the type of calls. In this case, it's both. Chester County, Pennsylvania. Wow, stroke, sick person, respiratory difficulty, emotional disorder, hemorrhaging, seizures, diabetic emergency. Yeah, really busy right now in Chester County. It's a sign of the times. We're coming into winter, that little bit of a lull in fall, where we had the heat-related illnesses in summer, then it slowed down. Now we're coming into virus season, where all the other viruses are now at play. Yeah, take a look at that. It's big, it's real, it's happening right now. New Jersey, a fake drop today. Why is it called a fake drop? Because only 60 out of 70 hospitals reported. Therefore, we don't have all the hospitals. Maybe some are small, maybe some are bigger hospitals. It still represents 606 hospitalizations, 18 ventilators. If the number of hospitals reporting was higher, the number of people in the hospital for COVID would be showing up higher as well. 58 people in the ICU, discharges 118. New York State, big increase over yesterday in cases, 4,489. So that would tell us, hey, New York State is still rising. They don't test enough. Taking a look here at New York State hospitalizations, and yes, it rose again today as well, 1,812. So the rise has continued, or resumed, I should say, in New York State once again. Texas, it came in yesterday. They They corrected that number from last week. It was up this week. 12,702 versus 11,572 cases. That's probably still an undercount because, as we know, a lot of people just do not test, or the asymptomatic cases. It's in actuality, I'm being honest with you, this number is probably 3 to 4 times higher, and maybe even higher than that. So cases are up. Fatalities, though, this is good news. It's down by 11, 41 versus 52. Hospitalizations are up by 68, 1,233 versus 1,165. Chicago, hospitalizations. They're going up. Now 30 people in the hospital there. Hospital beds in use is up by 2.5%. Emergency room visits, it's flat at this time. It's coming up blank. I don't think there's any data for that for some reason in this week's update. Laboratory confirmed cases actually down ever so slightly in Chicago. That's a good thing. Deaths, they're up ever so slightly. And this is actually good too. 15,358 people either got a booster, got vaccinated, got some sort of a COVID vaccination shot. Not good. What we're seeing now is Colorado's data here, ever so slight increase. It's not a big increase, but it is an increase. 260 people are currently hospitalized with COVID in Colorado. Moving on now to Washington State. COVID-19 actually down for emergency visits by 6%. Influenza is up by 23%. No change in RSV. Percent of hospital admissions down by 5%. Influenza up 29%. Up 13% for RSV. And COVID, it's up for ICUs. 21 people in the ICU, and influenza is 13. And data, it says here, not collected for RSV. And I think that is all we have for today. Yeah, we don't have an update out of Massachusetts just yet. The most recent update is 14.8% for total number of ER visits that are due to a respiratory disease or illness. So that's a pretty big percent if you ask me, and that is definitely more pressure being added on the hospitals in Massachusetts. Tomorrow we will hopefully have California and LA. As you know, California is sometimes really late. I think tomorrow, I'm not certain it's going to be a data-filled update, and maybe one of those out in the wild updates. So stay tuned. I'll let you know tomorrow how that's going to go. Well, obviously, you'll click on the video and see whether it's data filled here at my computer or out in the wild. Alrighty, folks, that does it for today's pandemic update. Just a real quick reminder, we're coming closer and closer to the holiday. Christmas, New Year's, all the other holidays, whichever holidays you celebrate coming up, we're getting closer to them. It's time to start thinking about, hey, if you're going to see someone, maybe you want to spend a couple days at home if you can, to avoid, going out there into the big crowds, potentially catching one of the viruses, quarantine for a few days. And remember, take those tests beforehand. We'll have more on this as the days come on, because this is such an important thing to remember. Everyone thinks, oh, I got to go out and do this, go out and do this. And then they do go out and do that, and they're like, oh, no. Now all of a sudden I'm sick. Well, maybe if you stayed home for a couple days, you would have been fine. And plus, remember, if you do go out and do this, not all viruses are instantaneous. COVID can take several days to appear. 3 to 4 or 5 days later, you could start feeling sick. And at that point, oh no, Christmas has come and now I'm sick and oh no, I just infected how many people? Yeah. So just be mindful of what you're doing over the next week or so. Matter of fact, throughout this whole entire holiday until we get to the peak, and even after that, once we have hit the peak, even when things start dropping in early January or whenever in January it does occur, be mindful that, hey, it's not over with. Levels are still high and they have to drop from those levels, and it may not be just a rapid drop, it may be a gradual drop. Who knows? We won't know until it happens. Alrighty, folks, that does it for today's pandemic update. We'll have another one again tomorrow. If you enjoyed this update, give it a thumbs up. If you're new and you want to see more of this, subscribe to my channel down below. And if you know anyone who needs to see this, share this with them. If you want to leave a comment, do that down below. I love reading your comments. And I will see you all again next time. Until I see everyone again next time, have a fantastic Thursday evening, and thanks for watching. Stay safe, everyone.